going to food, could be going to buy a computer for their kid, might be going into a savings account for their retirement. In such circumstances, where so many are struggling to achieve the American dream, where people feel like it's slipping away, we can't afford to wait. We can't wait to fix our schools. We can't wait to provide health care to people who don't have it. We can't wait to deal with things like global warming. We cannot wait to deal with high gas prices, and we cannot wait to bring this war in Iraq to a close. And that's why I'm running for president right here. I was betting on you.
Yes.
I was betting on you, the American people. Because I was convinced that the American people were tired of a politics that's all about tearing each other down. They wanted a politics that was about lifting the country up. I believe that people didn't want spin and PR from their elected officials. Instead, they wanted straight talk and honesty and truthfulness. And most of all, I was convinced that the American people were tired of being divided. You know, on my way down to Florida, all the reporters were asking, well, what are you going to be doing about the Jewish issue? What are you doing about the Hispanic issue? How about the seniors? How are you going to appeal to them? And I tried to explain that I want to get the votes of Floridians. I want to get the votes of Americans. That's how I'm going to lead this country. Put everybody together. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, everybody is ready to take it on. When we are unified, sunshine, nobody can stop us. There is no challenge we can't meet. There is no destiny we cannot fulfill. And I am here to report to you. I am here to report to you that America is ready for change. But what I also know is that whatever differences we may have, they pale in comparison to the differences we got with John McCain. Because John McCain is running for George Bush's third term. We know the name George W. Bush won't be on the ballot in November, but we don't want his policies in the White House in January. And so we are going to unify to prevent that from happening. A presence in Iraq for as long as 100 years. John McCain, he's been spending this whole week describing his foreign policy, which basically says, here are the people I'm not going to talk to. The diplomacy I won't engage in. That's not change. That's George Bush. That's Dick Cheney. And we can't afford that anymore if we're going to make sure that America is secure in the future. John McCain looked at George Bush's economic record, and he concluded that we have been making great progress. That's what he said. Apparently, John McCain isn't talking to the 260,000 people who lost their jobs since the beginning of this year.
That's right.
He must not be talking to the folks who can't even go on a job search because they can't fill up their gas tank. He must not be talking to the mothers and fathers who are going to the grocery store and having to cut back on the grocery bills. He must not be talking to because many of the problems we are dealing with, we've been dealing with for decades. I mean, you think about it, we've been talking about healthcare reform for decades, since Harry Truman. And yet, decade after decade, the only thing that's changed is we've got more people without health insurance, and if you've got health insurance, you've seen your co-payments and your deductibles and your premiums going up and up and up. Now, why is that? Well, part of it may be George Bush, but part of it is the fact that the drug and the insurance companies spent $1 billion over the last decade preventing change from happening. So is it any surprise then that the laws coming out of Congress are very good for the drug and the insurance companies, but they're not so good for you? The same is true on energy. This $4 a gallon gas didn't creep up on anybody. We've been talking about it since the 70s, the need to get control of our energy costs. But you know what changed? We actually import more oil from the Middle East. We actually are spending more money, and ExxonMobil made $11 billion last quarter, record profits. Now why is that? Well, Bush put Cheney in charge of energy policy.
Oh yeah.
And Cheney met with the environmental groups once, he met with the renewable energy groups once, he met with the oil and gas companies 40 times. So is it any surprise that the energy bills coming out of Congress are very good for ExxonMobil, they're not so good for you? Now here's the point. We can't just change political parties in the White House. We're going to have to change how politics is done in Washington